mirror unfolds. I do like the slight differences between the two players. You've got Sebastian Pozzo, who, like we saw, is not playing any Bone Crusher Giants.
Correct.
Do you think that's going to be a bit of a difference maker in this matchup?
I do think it is going to be a difference maker in this matchup. The access to no removal and the big 4-3, I think, puts Pozzo at a slight disadvantage, not a major one, for the reasons that Sean actually did mention. And Infuriate is a card that Seth will have to play around. +3/+2 at instant speed. Great with the first strikers and some other creatures that are running around here. And Grim Initiate is another 1-drop that Pozzo has 2 copies of. Just a 1/1 first striker, but when it dies, you get to amass 1 and have a zombie army token as well, which means it's good for trading in the early stages of the game. These first games pre-sideboarded, they have the potential to be extremely swingy with cards like Embercleave and Torbrand, Thane of Redfell.
Speaking of which, Torbrand is an opening hand here for Seth Manfield, along with Fervent Champion and Bone Crusher Giants. So some early interaction there for Seth. Along at the other side of the battlefield, we've got 2 Annex, Scorch Spitter, and an Embercleave in hand for Sebastian Pozzo as we get things underway.
Now, one thing both players are going to try to want to do is stop the other from actually getting Embercleave onto the battlefield, which can be pretty difficult at times because we're talking about red decks that have more or less cut all of their removal. Also worth noting that Embercleave in multiples is not particularly good for either player. So you saw Pozzo pick up another copy of that, but he does have a card that is good in multiples, and Annex Hardened in the Forge. So this is going to be kind of a little bit strange. I know you expect red mirrors to go pretty quickly. I don't think that's going to be the case here for either of these players, especially for what they're playing for.
So Seth, just deliberating a little bit here. He has the Bone Crusher Giant. He has got Stomp available to him if he wants to get rid of the Scorch Spitter. You could see he didn't attack previously, wanted to keep, the defense up against the Scorch Spitter because he would win in that fight against it. So gonna be curious to see if he does dispatch of this cute little lizard or if he just lets it live.
Now, when you're looking at that no attack there from Seth, you saw Scorch Spitter on turn 1 from Pozzo. Seth says, you know what, I'm just going to pass the turn back after playing Fervent Champion. One thing that Seth is doing there is he's preventing Light Up the Stage from being played with its spectacle cost, which can, of course, mean that if Pozzo was looking for a land or something like that, he wouldn't find it. As you can see, third land Annex, now the tenor of the game changes because this is the first real thing that Seth has to concern himself with.
But do not despair, Seth Manfield, for you have your own Annex Hardened in the Forge. And it's always fun when those two, go head-to-head against each other. He also has, as we mentioned, the Bone Crusher Giant, which is the pretty big 4/3 that is very good at blocking a lot of things that could come out of Sebastian Pozzo's list. So first things first, let's get Annex Hardened in the Forge down. Fervent Champion's not going to be doing any swinging into the opposing Annex. Grim Initiate is the draw there for Sebastian Pozzo.
Yeah, this is one of those turns where Grim Initiate isn't really at its best. It's not the worst thing in the world to be doing here, but now Pozzo's got some options here. Do you play another copy of Annex? Probably not. Of course, you can Legendary Rule, make a Satyr, not the best of turns, though we'll see if Pozzo wants to go down that road. And he also has Scorch Spitter and Grim Initiate in hand as well.
Well, he'd make 2 Satyrs, right?
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true.
So that might be worthwhile doing.
But if you're going to make a couple of 1/1s, you do have the ability to just play a Scorch Spitter and a Grim Initiate, which will also raise the power of Annex as well. We're also looking at a match here, and this is something that Seth has got to be cognizant of, and I'm sure Sebastian knows as well. As he deploys another Annex, is going to make a couple of Satyrs. He's always got to be thinking, both players, about Infuriate. They're all going to be thinking about that. As you see,
makes
4.
Oh,
Yes, 4 of those are going to be made because 2 copies of Annex. So that's not a bad play. Annex is just this kind of card that's really, really, really good in the matchup, which is why Seth took his turn to deploy one of those last turn.
Oh boy, things are going to get spicy here real quick, because as soon as this team attacks, Embercleave is cheap as chips.
That's correct.
And Sebastian is definitely going to want to get that going. So now Torbrand, Thane of Redfell is the go-to for Seth Manfield. Let's make things hit a little harder than they do. No harm in attacking if he wants to, but he's got to be wary of the Embercleave on the crackback. So you're going to see these two players dance around each other. What I thought would be a very, very fast match is not at all, because these players are thinking 2 steps ahead all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking to be done about Embercleave math, Embercleave in combination with Infuriate. What does that look like? Am I just going to die right away? A bunch of different stuff. So it looks like Seth is going to send Annex and maybe even Fervent Champion in as well. Remember, Torbrand's going to give that buff that any of your red stuff is going to deal an additional 2 points of damage. Great in combination with First Strike, of course. So you have to think about that as well. Also worth noting here is Seth's just going to attack with his Annex and not his Fervent Champion. That Torbrand is a card that once it's on the battlefield for Seth, it's not leaving because there's no removal in game 1.
6 points of damage getting through to Sebastian. Down to 11. Seth is still on 20. Another Annex. Ooh, should we make some more Satyrs?
Very, very good question. It would be 4 more of those 1/1s.
Yeah, but they don't block, so they're kind of not great if Seth decides to turn up the gas a little bit and get Embercleave in. Because I think he's got to go for it now. I don't know, but does he get it through?
I mean, there's some thinking to be done here with
Yeah.
regards to Embercleave. You know, how do you want to play your Scorch Spitter? How do you want to play your Grim Initiate? Can you beat an Embercleave on the other side of the battlefield? Seth does have an Embercleave in his hand. We can see that just like everybody can at home. So again, there's just a lot of thinking to be done right now if you are Sebastian Pozzo about how to kind of manage this turn.
Yeah.
Because you kind of want to do it all at once if you can for a very big hit. And I don't think Sebastian has the ability to do that in the way that he wants to right now.
Yeah, he's not set up for that at the moment, and if he leaves himself defenseless, then he's going to have a bad time on Seth's next turn. So Grim Initiate down on the battlefield, at least one other blocker to help out. Satyrs cannot block, so might as well get in for a swing there. They do make Embercleave cheaper, so if Torbrand does block, these little idiots can kill Torbrand, which might be quite a big deal here for Sebastian.
Well, if he can get Torbrand off the battlefield, that would be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't think that Seth is going to allow that to happen.
No.
As you did mention, the Satyr tokens that are on the battlefield, they are 1/1 Satyr creature tokens, so they do interact favorably with Torbrand if someone has a Torbrand, but they cannot block.
Fervent Champion's going to tender a block here against one of the tokens at least. Mitigating some of the damage. Torbrand is saying, no touchy, thank you very much. I know what Embercleave does, and it hurts. So he'll get through for 3. Possibly fire off the Embercleave here to protect the Satyr that's being blocked by the Fervent Champion. If not, why not? Should we get it onto the battlefield?
Yeah,
Or do we want to leave it as a surprise?
I think this is a stage where we do just want to get it onto the battlefield here, especially because there are multiple copies in hand. So you take this opportunity now to get this on the battlefield. I'd say he's putting his shields down, but realistically he's not because he doesn't have any main deck removal.
Yeah.
So and Seth knows that, so there's no stomp or shock to play around here.
Oh, going on to Annex instead. All right, so he wants to be able to kill whichever creature flies through.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised by that. Remember, you would think that it has to go on an attacking creature. That's not the case.
Yeah, no.
It enters the battlefield. You get to equip anything you want to with that. So now there's a 6/4 double striker back on defense, which is going to gum up combat even more.
Not too shabby, not shabby at all. Scorch Bitter, Bone Crusher, and Castle Emberth available here to Seth Manfield. It's going to be interesting to see if he decides to go for it or if he's going to hold just another turn and try and get the upper hand here against Sebastian Pozzo.
Scorch Bitter pre-combat means you're going to have another Devotion to Red out on the battlefield. Remember that the cost on Embercleave is still a little bit expensive right now.
Be 3, so he's got enough mana for it. If he attacks with all 3 creatures.
Yeah, I do not foresee Torbrand attacking at all this turn. I don't really ever see it doing much of anything outside of kind of more or less being a static enchantment on the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's got its static text that is very, very powerful in this matchup, so I don't expect to see it attacking. We'll see if Seth wants to go in there, because if he just attacks with Fervent Champion and Annex, he still has the ability to cast the Embercleave.
And both of those creatures with the Embercleave attached would deal with the opposing Annex. But Torbrand is getting in on the action too, so let's see where this Embercleave is going to end up.
So if Torbrand is blocked by Annex, that means you put the cleave on the Annex that Seth has, and then you're able to double strike and trample over for enough damage. So that means that Pozzo's hand is forced, that his Annex needs to block Seth's Annex.
Yeah.
It looks like he might be realigning blockers here. Grim Initiate there.
Ooh.
Okay. So this is still totally fine because Sebastian's Annex does have first strike.
Yeah.
That means it will kill Torbrand.
Yeah, I think if he blocked the other way, he may have just been dead there with a double strike.
He's got to think about this quite a bit.
He's got to get Torbrand off the battlefield so that Annex isn't doing extra damage, because he's currently, you can think of him as a 9/3.
So let's take a look at this block. Now, Grim Initiate jumps in front of Torbrand. Grim Initiate has first strike, was still losing combat. Then you've got Annex blocking Annex, so that means that if the Embercleave that Seth has goes on his own Annex.
Like a 12.
We're going in, that's turning that into a 7. Let's call it 8, 9, plus 1 is 10.
7,
It should be a 10-4, if my math is correct here, if he puts it on his own Annex.
Yeah, if he puts on
which
his
he's not
own
going to
Annex.
do. So little trample, little exchange. Seth loses his. He gets a couple of tokens. There's an army token, and then that's Xaxis via the trample. Okay. Combat gets messy in this matchup.
It sure does, especially with Devotion coming into effect and Trample. So, yeah, getting the job done there to Seth Manfield. So, very, very carefully crafted victory there, I would say. It's not the just dump things down, turn
Yeah,
sideways, and go.
This is nowhere near as straightforward as some other red mirrors have
Yeah.
been in the past, where you just play your creatures, play a burn spell or two, play a glory bringer, exert it, and win the game that way. There's a lot of combat math that is involved in this matchup, and a lot of the creatures do have first strike, and Embercleave grants first strike. And the entire time that you're playing your games, you have to be concerned with Embercleave, just like we saw with both players there. It's kind of a mess, and it makes you wonder that if these players, both Pozzo and Manfield, how much they actually tested the mirror as opposed to testing against Team of Reclamation and Azorius Control.
So sideboard times now. Seth Manfield is going to be on the draw. So looks like he's still keeping the Robbers of the Rich in there, which is something you kind of expect to see come out in this mirror.
No, I like Robber the Rich quite a bit in this matchup. As players continue to exhaust themselves and their hands empty, especially when you're on the draw, you're able to take cards from your opponent and actually play them. I think I like Runaway Steamkin coming out because living the dream with that card, it's very, very unlikely for that to occur. I like getting away from at least one copy of Embercleave. Seth looks like he's getting away from a land because he is on the draw, so he doesn't want to flood out. He'll bring in his copy of Experimental Frenzy because that's a mirror breaker. And of course, you're going to see the copies of Red Cap Melee, Red Cap Melee come in this matchup.
Yeah, great removal spell, kills almost everything.
Yeah, I actually think that Robber the Rich is extremely good in this matchup.
All right, let's get going here. Taking a look at the opening hands, Fervent Champion, 2 Red Cap Melees, and Anax, Hardened in the Forge, and Embercleave. So nice looking hand there for Seth. Is on the draw, so likely to find land number 3 when he needs it.
I like this hand here from Seth. He's got 2 pieces of interaction and 2 copies of Red Cap Melee. Fervent Champion is just kind of whatever. It's just a 1/1 little knucklehead. It does help over time enable Embercleave. But this hand doesn't surprise me from Sebastian's side. This is totally fine because you're not going to waste your mana on killing Fervent Champion, but you will use your Red Caps on Anax, Torbrand, other things. Now, if he kills this, I'm a little surprised.
Well, he's got to. Why not?
I am a little surprised.
I am also surprised about that, though. Embercleave off the top there for Sebastian. Nothing in his hand at the moment. He's playing a very reactive game at the moment. No 2-drop there for Sebastian, and another Embercleave, for Seth, and another Embercleave there for Sebastian off the top of the library. Mountain, Anax, let's go.
Yep.
And here comes Red Cap Melee number 2.
Yeah, we may see that here. No guarantee. There's no guarantee of that. There's definitely something to think of there.
Yeah, just in case Torbrand comes out on turn 4. Castle Embereth, again, nothing happening here for Sebastian Pozzo. He's got 2 Embercleaves and nothing to put them on. That's the worst situation you want to be in. So here we go. We're going to see Torbrand, Thane of Redfell, enter the battlefield. This little satyr is going to get in for 3 points of damage, thanks to Torbrand's passive text. Another mountain off the top of the library, so Sebastian is in big, big trouble here. Seth just needs to put the foot on the gas and go, and this game is his.
And this is why I was a little bit surprised to see those Red Cap Melees so early on in the game, one of them killing that Fervent Champion instead of taking a couple points of damage there, because now there's no meaningful way for Sebastian to get Torbrand off the battlefield. So he drew 2 of his sideboard cards, didn't have an answer for Torbrand. You see Seth with a little bit of a fist pump there. Those sideboard games generally go longer than that, but now Seth very quickly up in this best of 3 matches.
So, just so you are aware, we are doing best of 3 matches. The first one has gone to Seth Manfield, so 2 more opportunities for Sebastian to get back in this. Both players just chatting to the officials, making sure what's happening next. And we're gonna get going into this next match very shortly. Gonna give the players a quick break to recoup their thoughts, figure out what it is they have to do to make sure they get into the next stage of this competition.
One thing to think about too really quickly, because it is best of 3 matches, you didn't get a great look at it. Now, we of course got to see how Seth was sideboarding. Sebastian really didn't, because that game went by so quickly. But when you see how your opponent is sideboarding, if the game goes long enough, it might adjust the way that you sideboard in a future game. And because it's best of 3 matches, not best of 3 games, as we work ourselves into the second match, there will be sideboard games. So maybe Pozzo changes up how he sideboards a little bit. Again, he didn't see much. If a second game goes longer, we might see that dynamic work itself into the equation here.
All right, so we were going to take a commercial break, but it looks like the players are ready and raring to go, as all good red players are. They walked away, so it looks like we are in fact going to a commercial break. But, it's live TV. Things happen. We'll come back to World Championship 26 here in Hawaii. Don't go anywhere.
And Sebastian Pozzo advances.
A very talented player, one of the greatest minds in South America, the engine room of the South American team.
My name is Sebastian Pozzo, and I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. A lifetime achievement for me, was to make it into the top 8 of a Pro Tour. Yeah, I'm definitely excited about the competition. The smaller the field is, usually the harder each round is. Everyone is obviously scary, and you have to respect every opponent. Playing against Marcio in Limited is one of the most terrifying experiences you can have in Magic. You just feel you have to get lucky to beat them. There is no other way that you can possibly outplay him. I usually get nervous, but I'm working on that, like taking a big breath and then just focusing on playing. It would be amazing to win, not only for me, like for the whole Argentinian and Latin American community, but it's not all about winning, you know. Mi nombre es Sebastián y voy a ser el próximo campeón del mundo.
Hall of Famer and your 2015 World Champion, Seth Manfield.
You know, one of the best players in the whole MPL.
So I first started playing Magic back when I was 8 years old. It was recess time on the blacktop at school. Strategy games kind of run in my family also, so it's just kind of how my mind works. I've been playing as a professional Magic player for a while now. My goal was to stay in the MPL, but I overachieved in a way, right? Because I also have now made it to the World Championships, which I won Worlds back in 2015, but this is a completely different World Championship. It doesn't mean that I'm like, okay, I've won Worlds already, so I can just kind of sit back and be happy with what I've already done. No, I'm always looking for more. This World Championship is absurd. I can't even think about what I'm playing for right now. You at home, you are the ones that have to think about all the stakes on the line. I'm gonna be playing my best Magic. My name is Seth, and I will be the next world champion.
Hey everybody, Cedric Phillips here, and I am joined by Pro Tour champion, world champion, Hall of Famer. I could go on and on and on. Seth Manfield, how are you?
Hey Cedric, I'm doing really well.
Mono red? Mono red? Seth, really?
So it is mono red aggro, which I'm sure players may have heard that name before as far as decks. But there's a few different card choices there, and I felt like in a field this strong, there's not necessarily as much edge you can gain as far as outplaying your opponent.
Okay.
So just being aggressive, winning games quickly has a lot of appeal.
Well, it has a lot of appeal to me, so I'm loving doing this interview. Let's start with some one drops, of course. Scorch Bitter, Fervent Champion. You want to get the game started early and often, correct?
Yeah, so the Scorch Bitter and the Fervent Champion are the best one drops available in Standard in the color red. The Fervent Champion is going to be best if you actually have multiples of them, because then they trigger on each other and the game can get over really quickly. Unfortunately, when you count them together, it's only 8 copies in your deck, so sometimes you're not always going to have a one drop, which means if you don't have one, it's a little bit of an uphill battle.
Well, who wouldn't want to kill Javier Dominguez with his own card? 2 drops. Runaway Steamkin. We got Rimrock Knight. That's a new one. And Robber of the Rich. Kind of an oldie but a goodie that looks like it might be making a comeback here this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Robber of the Rich is probably the most fun of them because you can actually play cards out of your opponent's deck. Yep. It's like, all right, I'm playing against Blue-White Control. Here's a Teferi on board. Now you can't play any of your counter spells and you have to interact with me on your turn.
Yeah.
So there's some weird attacks that work, and you're like, okay, this is going to completely change my game plan based on what I exile off of the opponent's deck. And then, yeah, the Runaway Steamkin is going to be great in those matchups where they don't have a lot of removal because it just gets out of control if left unanswered.
So you've got these awesome 1s, you got these awesome 2s, and then we go to some powerful 3s in Bone Crusher Giant and Onyx Hardened by the Forge. These cards are obviously in your deck for a reason. They have to be pretty powerful.
So Annex is really the newest addition to the deck, the most important addition to the deck, because it gives you protection against sweepers. You play it the turn, optimally turn 3 is the perfect turn before your opponent's going to play a Storm's Wrath, or is going to play a Shatter the Sky, and you get it down. Now all of a sudden, if your opponent plays their sweeper, it's like, all right, here's 5/1/1s now,
Yeah.
Torbrand next turn, and you're actually just dead.
Yes.
So yeah, Annex is kind of, and it also just works incredibly well with Embercleave. There's, and I don't think I've ever like lost a game where Embercleave is on an Annex hitting my opponent. So it's just like so much damage.
Strikes me as a lot of damage, and you speak about Embercleave, you spoke about Torbrand as well. So this red deck has the ability to deal maybe a lot more damage than a normal kind of red deck does. You mentioned that it's not your typical red deck, and I think these two cards in Embercleave and Torbrand are why.
Exactly, and then even surprisingly, the deck can play. It doesn't want to, but it can play a 6, a 7, and 8 turn game because of the adventure cards. It's like, all right, I can use my Rimrock as a pump spell, and then I can also cast it. Same with Bone Crusher Giant. You've got the light up the stage for a little bit of card advantage. And then the biggest innovation, I would say, was just cutting the shocks, because we didn't feel like there's going to be as much aggression. We wanted to have a better matchup against Team Reclamation and against Blue-White Control.
So, do you think you got the metagame right? How you feeling about it?
There's a little bit more Jeskai Fires than I was expecting, but it's pretty hard to predict what everyone is going to be doing. I'd say that would be the one matchup that I feel a little bit unfavored in, but at the same time, everything's very winnable.
That's Mono Red. He's Seth Manfield, and will he be the world champion again? We'll find out as we bring you more coverage of World Championship 26 right after this.
Welcome back to World Championship 26 here in Honolulu, Hawaii. It is powered by Alienware, and we are watching the man we just saw do a deck tech with Seth Manfield up against Sebastian Pozzo. Mono Red Mirror, they are ready to go. Match number 2. Seth Manfield is up a match already. Has to win just one more to advance, so let's see if he can get that done. Cedric, are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready. Pozzo's back against the wall. Let's see if he can tie things up again. Best 2 out of 3 matches. Seth won match 1, 2-0, and these players said they were ready to rock and roll. They said, you know what, actually, let's take a quick breath, take a quick moment. We don't have to rush. Now they're given the green light there by official, and we will be underway here in match number 2.
Run out of steam, right?
Well, I see what you did there.
You gotta pace yourself. You saw it, okay.
Can't get anything by me until you do.
Nope. So let's get going here. Sebastian Pozzo is clawing to stay alive in this championship. Seth Manfield is looking to get through to the next day of competition. Take a look at the opening hands here. That's a pretty good looking hand here for Seth. Fervent Champion, Rimrock Knight, Robber the Rich, Steamkin, and Bone Crusher Giant. So interaction as well as a pretty good looking curve.
Yeah, not a bad hand on the surface. I think this is the kind of hand that Seth is going to keep. It certainly does help that he's on the play here as well. He does not have a copy of Embercleave or Torbrand or Annex just yet. Those are 3 key cards in the matchup. But as far as kind of getting the party started with just the 1-drop into a 2-drop into maybe a 3-drop, totally fine start here for Seth.
Not a bad looking hand from Sebastian Pozzo either. He's got the Scorch Spitter, Fervent Champion, Infuriate, which is the one difference to Seth Manfield's list, and Light Up the Stage as well. So, card draw, like Seth mentioned in his deck tech, is kind of important. Red wants to refill their hand. One way to do that is also with Robber of the Rich. Being able to steal your opponent's cards is super duper nice indeed. So first things first, let's get Runaway Steamkin down.
I love this play here from Seth. No attack with Fervent Champion. If Scorch Spitter works itself into the red zone, Seth is going to block and force his opponent to have Infuriate. Does Pozzo have Infuriate? Yes, he does, but that also takes up some of his mana for the turn. Also worth noting is because Sebastian has no removal in his main deck, that means that playing a Runaway Steamkin, it's going to live, it'll start getting +1/+1 counters. That means it'll generate a mana advantage and start to do what Runaway Steamkin does. So I like Seth taking, I'll call it a defensive stance for a turn, not a defensive stance for the game.
Yeah, I like it very much indeed. And if he doesn't hit his land number 3, he does have ways to put counters on the Runaway Steamkin twice. He could do it with Rimrock Knight if he wants to pump it up. Scorch Spitter is getting spicy, swinging in, getting that point of spectacle damage if he wants to fire off a Light Up the Stage. Fervent Champion will tend to the block. And here we're going to see Infuriate take care of Fervent Champion. Scorch Spitter is going to be a big boy now and just run over good old Javier Dominguez.
And that's totally fine if you're Seth. You make a 1-for-1 trade there, you lose your Fervent Champion, and then of course there's one less Infuriate you have to worry about right now too. So not a bad exchange there for Seth at all. I'm sure he's happy with it because there's only one more Infuriate to have to worry about. And as you saw with the Light Up the Stage, not the scariest of reveals there in a mountain, another copy of Light Up the Stage.
Still a pretty good draw indeed, though. Able to, see further into the library, get some more key cards out there. Unfortunately, no land here for Seth Manfield, so he's going to now have to figure out how to work through this next few steps. If he doesn't get another land, he needs to get this Runaway Steamkin cooking. to help him catch up. Bone Crusher Giant is going to take care of Scorch Spitter, Runaway Steamkin getting in here for 2 points of damage.
This causes and forces Sebastian to have a haste threat to turn on that right up the stage. That's over in exile right now. Now he has not one, but 2 of them and 2 copies of Fervent Champion. So it's actually a pretty good draw step there for Sebastian, that second Fervent Champion, because they work so well in multiples.
Oh, yes, they do. 4 points of damage coming in. Seth down to 15. Here comes Light Up the Stage. What do we find? An Embercleave and a Rimrock Knight off the top of the library.
Okay, third land was a little bit late to the party, but it is here now. What's kind of interesting to note is those cards that are revealed from Light Up the Stage, better when they're a secret in Embercleave and Rimrock Knight / Boulder Rush. But,
surprise!
But now those are cards that Seth probably would have tried to play around anyway, and now he knows that they are there, so he's going to have to try to figure out if there's a way for him to play around these in some sort of meaningful way. He does have Bone Crusher Giant that he can stomp something away. He also has Rimrock Knight, and more importantly, has Boulder Rush, so he can kind of turn up the heat here a little bit with Steamkin if he'd like to.
There's a few options that he could go for here, either Rubber the Rich plus Rimrock Knight, or just try and get Steamkin to the point where he can empty it out, fill up his mana pool, and play a few more spells this turn. So Rubber the Rich is going to be the go-to, and Rimrock Knight playing things pre-combat, so he can get the trigger off the Rubber, seems to be the play.
Yeah, he's looking to empty his hand out a little bit here, and I like this play here from Seth. He's going to turn the Robber into a 4/2. He's going to attack here for 8 points of damage. Robber will trigger, revealing a Knight, get your damage in, and then you've got the opportunity to do some things post-combat with Steamkin if you want.
I don't see any reason not to. Bone Crusher Giant can take care of one of these Fervent Champions, just mitigate it. Otherwise, just get the Fervent Champion, just get the Bone Crusher Giant down and get in the way of these ever-growing Fervent Champs.
That's a good turn there for Seth.
Yeah. Good draw too here for Pozzo. Anax hardened in the Forge. If anything does die, he can get another creature just to re-establish the battlefield for him.
Well, Anax is an interesting draw in this spot because by drawing that card, if you decide to deploy Anax, that means you're losing out on your Embercleave that's over in exile from Light Up the Stage, and you're probably losing out on your Rimrock Knight / Boulder Rush. No guarantee of that, of course, because you can attack with both, trigger, both to get +1, +0, and first strike, and then you can threaten to Boulder Rush, but you may not want to do it.
Yeah. Embercleave and Rimrock Knight Boulder Rush are available, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of there. So I like this attack, and I'm not surprised to see this to be the play, which is, okay, I'm going to Boulder Rush, make sure I get actually use out of that card, then play Anax post-combat.
So just 1 mana shy of being able to do both things from the exile pile, but Anax hardened in the Forge enters the fray. It is a 4/3, so if it does die, we will get 2 creatures off of Anax.
Pretty sure Pozzo's dead. You play the land, you attack with all 3 of your creatures. He blocks the biggest creature, which is Bone Crusher Giant. You Rimrock Knight, that's +2, +0. Steamkin gets a counter, and then you stomp your opponent's face, and that should be exact.
That's not a good way to play Magic, Cedric. How rude.
This is the only way I play Magic, Alias.
I know. This is why we get along so
The only thing I'm good at is combat math. This is pretty much it.
Yeah, because I imagine you've been in this situation quite a few times.
So Bone Crusher is going to run into the 4/3. That's 3, 4, 5. Boulder Rush makes it 6 and 7. So that should be it for this game.
Easy peasy mac and cheesy. So now it's just a matter of where is the blocker going to go. Pozzo has to block. He knows that Embercleave is not an option right now. Missing land, but Rimrock Knight, of course, with a Boulder Rush attached to it, is a bit of a problem for him here. So, yeah, like you said, he's just deado.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which creature he blocks. He blocks a smaller one here. Again, Boulder Rush on either Robber of the Rich or Bone Crusher Giant means that Seth should be +1 in this game, unless my math is really not good.
No, your math is good. I think Seth knows too. He's like, GG, you're dead now. Pozzo's just like, no, come on. Don't have it.
Seth is basically saying, hey, it doesn't matter what creature you block. I want to show you the Boulder Rush.
Yeah.
There we go.
I have it. You're dead.
Yep, there we go.
All right, let's move on to game number 2 here. In match number 2, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Seth Manfield picking up that victory against Sebastian Pozzo. And we're going on to game number 2. Let's take a look at sideboard. What do we want to do here in this matchup?
Again, I think it's going to look a lot like what he did in the last game. You're going to bring in the copies of Lava Coil and Red Cap Melee. You're also going to bring in your copy of your Experimental Frenzy. You can get away from an Embercleave. You can get away from some number of Runaway Steamkins because you know that your opponent is bringing in a little bit of removal on your own. Steamkin's only great in removal light matchups, and you can get away from 1 copy of Torbrand and some number of those Rimrock Knights as well. Rimrock Knight can't block, which means it's going to be worse on the draw. Also, one thing that I really do like that Seth is doing here that I didn't get to highlight much last time during sideboarding is he's boarding out a land. He doesn't want to flood. he doesn't need that many lands to operate, and he's on the draw, which means he's going to get additional draw steps. So he doesn't need all 22 lands. He can just go down to 21 pretty comfortably here. Also, he's bringing in removal. Removal is going to drag the game out, which gives you even more opportunity to draw lands if you're missing your land drops. So it's a minor thing, but it's a thing that the great players do in aggro mirrors like this when it's able to be done.
Yep. So for those of you just joining us, Seth Manfield versus Sebastian Pozzo. Seth needs to win just one more game to advance. If Sebastian Pato cannot pull this back, he will be eliminated from the championship. So everything to play for here. Let's get this game underway. Take a look at the opening hands, and that's not the best one to see. Is there a consideration to keep it?
No, I don't.
No.
I think it's easy to send that one back. I think this one is much easier to keep. You've got 2 lands. You've got 2 removal spells. It's either Scorch Bitter or Tybalt, and I think it's probably going to be Scorch Bitter that's going to go back. This game isn't about aggression for Seth with how his land, with how his hand is structured. It's much more about interact, play a little bit slower game, play a Bone Crusher Giant. So I like him putting the 1 drop back.
All right, so being on the draw, Seth is going to look to eliminate some of the early threats from Pozzo. Let's take a look at his opening hand. Looks like he also had a mulligan. And we'll get to see that momentarily. Ooh,
Yeah, he mulliganed twice.
5. Ouch.
This is really bad news here for Sebastian. I will say that Grim Initiate oddly is a totally fine card here in this matchup because of the fact that it does make an army and it does have first strike. So, you know, it's a fine draw.
Yep. Fervent Champion off the top there. Let's get Steamkin down. Is this a good target for the red cap melee?
Yeah, you're not. Well, I'm gonna Bone Crusher Giant and stomp it off of the battlefield. Any removal spell will work.
Yeah.
You do not let that card live in this matchup as we just saw in the last game.
Yeah, because it would have 2 counters on it by now. So good thing to kill that, get that off the battlefield. No third land for Sebastian Pozzo. Both Fervent Champions swinging in there. Grim Initiates staying back on defense against the Scorch Bitter. And the Scorch Bitter is just going to watch these 2 Fervent Champions go right on by with their flaming swords. Speaking of Fervent Champion, that is the draw for Seth Manfield.
Good draw here from Seth as far as the defensive creature is concerned. Not going to attack with a Scorch Spitter. Grim Initiate's hanging back on defense to help make it that if you're going to go towards light up the stage, you're going to have to pay for it. Robber the Rich is going to get killed before it gets to attack.
Oh, yeah.
Almost assuredly by the red cat melee.
That thing's not going to live. If there's one thing I dislike in Magic most, it's when my opponent touches my stuff. Like, they steal my cards. Robber the Rich is the cheekiest little thief of them all. As much as I dislike Thought Erasure, he's slowly working his way up the rank, I must say.
That thing's got to go.
And it gets dispatched of very swiftly there with the red cap melee. Fervent Champions ×2, swinging on in. Seth can take care of one of them with his own first striking Fervent Champ. But 2 points of damage will get through for Sebastian Pozzo.
Pretty straightforward exchange. Again, this is part of the reason that Seth was able to sideboard out one of his lands. Now, obviously, he'd love to find a land here, but because he has so much interaction, he'll eventually draw a land, be able to start deploying his 3s. Then he'll probably draw a 4th land, be able to deploy his Torbrand, and Torbrand will run over the game. Seth, I don't think, needs to panic at all, though. I don't think he needs to cast Lava Coil this turn. Obviously, it's the only thing that he can play this turn, so he'll think about doing it. But I wouldn't say that he has to, but it looks like he's going to. The reason for that, just if you're wondering at home, is because if he draws a 3rd land, he's just going to start playing his 3-mana spells.
Ooh, land, look! All right, so the drought has ended for both these players. Phoenix of Ash is in the air and squawking happily, getting 2 points of damage in for Seth. Experimental Frenzy is not what you need. Seth Manfield needs to find his lands, or he is in a lot of trouble.
And that's
better just hang it back.
I think that's part of the reason, as Runaway Steamkin's the draw here for Pozzo now, so he's drawn a timely land and now a timely spell.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason you saw Seth wait a little bit on that Lava Coil and really think about it, because the thought process is, if I draw a 3rd land, my plays are kind of wrapped up. I've got Tybalt, I've got Bone Crusher Giant, I've got Annex, so my plays are kind of made for me. So this is the real window I'll have to cast the Lava Coil.
Another land finally here for Seth. So he can get his Annex going. He can get Tybalt Rakish instigated down if he wants to. He's going to hope to find some removal soon, though, because this Phoenix is doing good work on his face. He's down to 10. Pozzo is still on 18.
Yeah, Phoenix is starting to cause a little bit of problem. I like going towards Annex here because even if it dies, it's totally fine. Plus, it's a pretty big creature.
Oh, nice. Bone Crusher Giant, that's going to hurry up the clock or just be another big creature on the battlefield here.
Bone Crusher kind of interesting in this situation. If you're supposed to cast the Stomp half or just get the 4/3 on the battlefield, you can stomp Scorch Spitter, you can stomp the face, you can of course play it as just a 4/3. All of that's going to turn on Runaway Steamkin. So there's some things to like here.
Yeah, Scorch Spitter's not really doing anything at the moment though. It can't attack. If it dies, you get another creature, so it kind of just replaces itself. So that's why you can see Sebastian just deliberating a little bit. Where does he want to send the Stomp, or does he just want to get Bone Crusher down on the battlefield and apply some more pressure here to Seth Manfield?
Yeah, this is such a tough turn here for Pozzo, too. You got to think about with the fact that he's down a match, he's down a game in the match. So if he loses this game, tournament is over.
Yeah, he's fighting for his life here. Just so you guys know what the stakes are, if he loses this is the last time he will be playing Magic in this championship. So everything to fight for here. He wants to get to day number 3, as does Seth Manfield. He is fighting to get his second World Championship.
And this makes it so crucial that he gets this Bone Crusher Giant decision right. And this is not an easy decision. Heck, even this attack that he's making with Fervent Champion and Phoenix of Ash is not an easy decision. Now, you're going to see the first strike damage from Fervent Champion, resolve that first strike damage before regular damage. You're going to get a Stomp, you're going to get a counter on the Runaway Steamkin. So that's a good exchange for Sebastian. Is that the best exchange he can have? We'll have to find out over the course of these next couple of turns. That's a huge draw.
Oh, lovely. Exactly what Seth needed. Lava Coil will take care of Phoenix of Ash, then it cannot escape from the graveyard again. It's staying put in exile. So now it's a decision. Are we concerned about something off the top that can kill me with Phoenix of Ash? Do I have time to get a Bone Crusher Giant down? Do I resolve Tybalt? What is the thought process here?
Yeah, this turn is extremely difficult for Seth. We saw that window where he played the Lava Coil where he didn't really want to on the Grim Initiate because he assumed if I draw a third land, my plays are kind of wrapped up, right? Yeah. Well, now he's got this weird thing where if he plays a Lava Coil, that means he's got a mana that he didn't use. And your thought process is, well, shouldn't I play one of my 3 mana spells when I have 3 mana? But this Phoenix of Ash is causing some difficulty and some problems. So I'm not sure if you're going to go to Tybalt, if you're going to go to Bone Crusher. He's going to go towards the Planeswalker. And remember, the Devil that Tybalt makes is actually quite good because when it dies, it pings something as well.
Yeah, so that's a good way. Ooh, what do we find? Oh, Bone Crusher Giant. Oh, no. Embercleave. Ooh, indeed. I like the ooh. See, that's what I was concerned about. I was worried, okay, if this pigeon gets equipped with an Embercleave, are we just dead?
Yeah, this is a straightforward attack. So Embercleave's going to give the Runaway Steamkin a +1/+1 counter because it's red, and then it can grow the Steamkin. Now remember, the Satyr can't block, so you've got 2 blockers here for Seth, and you saw Seth lean back in his chair, knowing that if you're attacking with all 3 creatures, that can only mean one thing.
He believes in the cleave, and you bet your butts that Sebastian Pozzo has it.
So if the cleave goes on the Steamkin, it's going to be a 4-power creature. 4. That means 8.
No, yeah, that is.
That'll be 8 total. 8 minus 2 is 6. That should be a lethal attack, I believe.
Here we go. Runaway Steamkin swinging on in, getting the Embercleave damage. Trampling over. Red Devil can get rid of something, but it's not going to help here. Sebastian Pozzo picking up a very, very crucial victory, keeping his hopes alive.
Huge draw step there for Pozzo. He is not out of this match just yet. Seth with some minor mana troubles there. Remember, you could say that he did it to himself. He did sideboard to land of the draw after all. And now all of a sudden, Pozzo, whose back is up as far against the wall as it can be, is still in this thing.
He's still in it. He is fighting for his life, and he's going to have absolutely perfect draws being on the draw in this next matchup.
I think Sebastian played a really nice game of Magic there. Seth did the best that he could, given the resources that he did have. But you think about that Lava Coil that Seth played, you saw he didn't really want to play it on the Grim Initiate, and you just think, had he saved it, he would have gotten to kill Phoenix of Ash the following turn. That Phoenix dealt about 8 points of damage in the air. He had no clean answer to it. And then there was that turn where he thought about Lava Coiling. He played Tybalt instead. So those decisions, they all matter. Seth assuming that he's going to draw that third land, start to play his 3 drops. Had he held it for one more turn, maybe the outcome of that game is different. Fortunately for Sebastian, he did fire off that Lava Coil.
Fortunate indeed. So here we go. Last game between these 2 players. If Seth Manfield wins, he is rocking and rolling into the next stage of competition. If Sebastian wins, we're going to go into match number 3 between these 2 players. So a lot to play for here. Let's get things underway. Fervent Champion ×2, as well as Annex Hardened in the Forge for Seth Manfield. Take a look at the other opening hand. Not too shabby either. We've got some removal, and we've got 2 Robbers of the Rich now, as well as Light of the Stage.
This is a really nice hand for Sebastian, and this is the perfect one drop for Sebastian on the draw. Grim Initiate, 1/1 first striker, dies, amass 1. So immediately you're just going to go, I'm definitely blocking. Now, one card that he can't block is Robber of the Rich. I suppose he can, he'll lose his Grim Initiate, but I think we're going to see both creatures get into the red zone here. Oh, it looks like just one.
Just the Robber of the Rich. Okay. Finds a land off the top. Sebastian probably would have liked that land. He's only got 2 at the moment, but it's all right. He's got ways to dig through his library and, you know, get a hold of some of Seth's cards too. But he is obviously on the draw, so it takes a little bit more time for his robbers to get procking. Obviously, taking a look at the hand size of both players. Fervent Champion swinging on in here is going to... does Seth sense a light up the stage? In
Yeah,
his
this
future?
is really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you block in this situation? Sebastian would love for this to get through and then light up the stage. Sebastian could also just say, I just want to deal one and leave up red cap melee. So Sebastian actually has a couple different decisions, which means that Seth has the decision of how scared is he of light up the stage.
Yeah.
Looks like he's not that scared of it. So will we see it? We will
No.
not.
All right, keeping up red cap melee. Gonna kill something that comes down on turn 3. I don't know, maybe an Annex? Annex would create 2 tokens, though, so he's got to keep that in mind as
There's
well.
all these micro decisions in a red mirror where so many players think it's so straightforward a lot of the time, but you have seen these two great players go back and forth and have to make very critical decisions on every single attack step and every single block or no block that they've made.
So big decision times here for both players. I mean, Seth could just drop Forever Champion and Robber the Rich if he wanted to and just be like, cool, I'm coming in hot. You know, and then really make it difficult for Pozzo because he's got 2 red cap melee, so he can take care of one thing on the battlefield right now, but looks like we're going to go towards Annex Hardened in the Forge.
Yeah, what's interesting here, too, is that if you're Seth, you have to think to yourself, my opponent attacked my Fervent Champion, then they didn't do anything post-combat. What could they have post-combat? And it would make some sense, especially because Seth is playing red cap melees of his own, to think, okay, well, he's got one of those, so how do I play around this to the best of my ability?
Okay, I like this. Let's get rid of Robber the Rich, so no trigger from that. No trigger from Annex because it wasn't on the battlefield yet, so things are looking pretty good here. Actually, for both players, it's very even at the moment.
It's a very, very back and forth game. I would say there's a slight advantage over to Sebastian's side of things because he's got more spells than Seth does. Now, Sebastian could use a land. He doesn't need a land to operate, but a third land would allow him to play multiple spells in one turn, and that would give him a sizable advantage right now, I think.
Seth just deciding if he wants to fire off this Fervent Champion, get it into the red zone. It would trade with the Grimmination, but like you've said, it would amass 1, so
huge
he
draw.
would come out,
Huge draw.
Oh, look, land. Woo! All right, so now we're going to get cooking. Now we're going to see multiple spells per turn, like you mentioned, Cedric. Sebastian Pozzo is working his way back into this. He doesn't want to go home, and you can tell.
It's funny, and there are games of Magic where land is the worst thing you can draw, and sometimes it's the best thing you can draw. Right now, a third mountain, it may not seem like much, but the ability to play multiple spells in one turn, you saw Seth kind of wipe his brow there saying, okay, this is starting to get to be a little bit difficult for him because now here's red cap melee. I think we're going to see a Robber of the Rich as well. That's 2 spells in one turn. It definitely shifts the dynamic of this game, and now here come both of those creatures and maybe a third one into the red zone.
Very nice indeed. Fervent Champion coming in hot along with Robber the Rich. No trigger there because both players have the same amount of cards in hand. So, yeah, this is a very good match indeed.
Now, are we going to see these first strikers trade for once? We've seen the opportunity for Seth to kind of make this block, Fervent Champion and Fervent Champion, but we haven't seen it happen yet. Now, because Sebastian is tapped out, he can't light up the stage. So there is some interest maybe for Seth to say, you know what? I am going to trade. He keeps thinking about it and what the ramifications of the block are, but then he keeps not making it. I'm curious if he wants to make it this time because he's really given this a lot of thought.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe his thought process is, too, he's got a second Fervent Champion in hand, and that, you know, they're good in packs, yeah.
But now does Seth have to change his thinking and say, you know what, I need to play a longer game. I need to draw towards Lava Coil, Red Cat Melee, Experimental Frenzy, cards like that.
Ooh,
now, so what makes this a little bit difficult? Well, not that bad because he can play Robber and then light up the stage, but it would have been so great if he had both creatures. He attacks with both, then he stages, then it changes the sequencing of his turn. Now he's got to play this Robber the Rich pre-combat and make his attack to turn on his light up the stage.
No, he doesn't block with that. He doesn't attack with that.
Yeah, and there's no reason for the 1/1 to attack into a 1/1 first striker. It does suck that it can't block, obviously, but you're just going to now.
Hey, lands.
One land would have been great and one spell would have been great. Having another land there kind of stinks. So if you're Seth, you need to draw one of your power cards now. You need to find Cleave. You need to find Stage. You need to find Experimental Frenzy. Something now that you're starting to flood out a little bit.
Look at all these robbers. Jeez. All right, so we do have light up the stage in the hand of Sebastian Pozzo. He can get damage through to Seth with his attack. Go both. Go with both.
Yeah, no, so again, this is kind of the question you have to ask yourself if you're Pozzo of how many robbers do I want to attack with? I'm not going to trigger my robbers when I attack because Seth has less cards. So now it's just a 2/2 into a 1/1 that can block and a 1/1 that can't. Here comes Stage. These will be big reveals.
Oh, nice. But he needs another land now for Torbrand to be, you know, of any consequence in this matchup. That's a land for Seth Manfield, so things are not looking great for him.
Remember, Seth does have one copy of Experimental Frenzy in his deck.
Yeah.
It is something he would love to draw now as he is flooding out very badly at the moment.
Let's see what Robber steals.
Well, remember, there's one card in Pozzo's hand and Robber the Rich. He can't empty his hand and get to the point where he needs to.
No, not for him, but for Seth. He attacks with the Robber here. He can find some action in his opponent's library, so maybe it's worthwhile trading off with the other Robber. Just to try and find something to keep him in this. So tense times here for Seth Manfield, just deciding if his Robber of the Rich is going to get into the red zone here. Looks like he wants to commit to the attack. Just deciding if he wants to send the Fervent Champion too. He does have Castle Embereth that he can pump it up if the other Robber of the Rich would block it. But the 1/1 will not get into attacking at the moment. What does he find? It is a Grim Initiate.
Okay.
So.
I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Honestly, you'll take anything.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, so he can swing in. No real need to pump up the team here. So just going to do some trades. Get a Grim Initiate, a mass token, and then play Grim Initiate.
My slight confusion there, for those of you wondering at home, is that mountain's not actually in Seth's hand.
No, it's not.
It's the mountain from Light Up the Stage.
Yeah.
So the mountain that he drew, he played. That means the mountain that you see there and the Grim Initiate that you see there, those are kind of in the exile zone. So that was the slight confusion that I had there with the Robber of the Rich. So the Robber attack makes some sense, and now you're going to see some trading here, it looks like, between the Robbers.
Fervent Champ will get through.
Now, again, the question is, are we going to activate the Castle Embereth or not?
Well, you get an extra points of damage with... No.
Okay.
Pozzo's just like, no touchy.
Okay.
So Grim Initiate and Fervent Champ will trade, as will the two Robbers. Here comes the Amass token, and then Seth can play the Grim Initiate that the Robber has stolen out of Pozzo's library.
Okay. Look at these
Now this is nice though, because if Robber the Rich does decide to attack, he can use Castle Embereth to pump up the team and kill it with the first striker. So I kind of like not activating it previously because it didn't need to, but Pato knows that too, so no attacks. Here comes little Scorch Spitter. We have Robber the Rich and Steamkin in hand there for Pozzo. He needs to find land number 4 to get cooking. That's a Fervent Champion.
But I still think he's doing okay here.
Yeah,
because
he's in a pretty good spot
Because now he's playing Runaway Steamkin. Seth has no cards in his hand. Now, Seth does have some real game breakers. Again, I'm going to stress the importance of Experimental Frenzy in this spot for Seth to catch up because he is falling behind very, very quickly. Annex can actually start attacking here very soon.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's going to start right now alongside Fervent Champion.
Yeah, if not, why not? Fervent Champion, Annex, Hardened in the Forge, getting through here. How will Seth tender his blocks? He does have Castle Embereth available to him to pump up his team.
Remember Castle Embereth, 3 red, well, 2 red and a colorless, tap, give your creatures +1/+0. It's not attacking creatures get +1/+0, it's just your creatures get +1/+0. So you don't see it often used defensively, but this is a spot where we could see that happen.
Now, does he want to take care of Annex here, or does he get hit?
Really, really tough question, because you can put Grim Initiate in front of Annex, and then you get an army token,
block.
and you get another block that way. And there's probably some appeal in that.
Yeah. So that's what he's going to do. Just take the 1 from the Fervent Champion. Annex is going to deal with the Grim Initiate, but he will get the Amass token on his side of the battlefield. So still has that blocker, still has the opportunity to kill Annex if needs be. And there's an Embercleave, but it's not the right thing right now for him.
And that's a great way to put it. It's not the right thing right now. There are a lot of spots where Embercleave is great in this matchup. And I'll tell you what, if Pozzo draws one on his turn, we're probably going to see all the creatures attack because it's a great draw step for him, but it's not ideal for Seth. This is probably going to be, I mean, Seth would like to turn up the heat and try to steal this game from the opponent. I don't know if his attacks will lend himself to be able to do that, but it might be worth trying to say, I need to steal this game via Embercleave and then another top deck the following turn.
Scorch Spitters going on in, dealing 1 point of damage.
This
does have the Embercleave available to him if he wants to.
This is an adorable attack because it looks like Light Up the Stage.
It does.
It looks like Light Up the Stage that I want to play for 1 mana and try to spike some 4 mana cards.
You hear that, Scorch Spitter?
It also, I mean, it also kind of looks like Embercleave, but it more looks like Light Up the Stage.
Yeah. Oh boy. So Pozzo's got some decisions to make. He's just going to put the 1/1 Amass token in front of the Scorch Spitter. And if you know what, if you can play Embercleave, you're going to play Embercleave. Here you go, Scorch Spitter. You wield this adorable sword and do your damage.
Now, it's minor, but the damage that Seth gets over there does matter. Another copy of Annex means that, of course, you can make a ton of Satyr tokens, so Satyr tokens cannot block. And so Seth is going to try. He's really going to try to steal this game with Embercleave.
What better way to do it? So decision time here for Sebastian Pozzo. Still not finding land number 4. Has found a second annex. We will get a bunch of tokens off of both of those legendary creatures. Robber of the Rich is also another card he can dispatch, but it will not get any cards off of Seth Manfield.
I think that Pozzo is realizing he needs to get this game over with. He can't let this slip away. Seth is floundering right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any cards in his hand. Sebastian does. Looks like he's going to play another Annex post-combat and make up a whole bunch of satyrs, grow his runaway Steamkin. For him to give him the ability most likely to win the game the next turn.
Yeah.
Also, I like him keeping the new Annex as there is to Bolt. I like him keeping the new Annex because that one can block.
Yeah. So very heads-up play there, generating a bunch of tokens. Wants to overwhelm Seth Manfield and get this game over and done with.
Yeah,
to
Seth
tie up
is
this round.
really trying to steal it with Embercleave. There's a combination of draw steps that allows him to steal it. I don't think that Experimental Frenzy, I think that window is closed now. I think the Torbrand window might still be open.
So basically, Seth just doesn't want to see Embercleave. Otherwise, he's in a lot of trouble.
I mean, there's a lot of cards that Seth doesn't want to see. A removal spell and a Scorch Spitter is bad news, too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a Red Cat Melee, something like that, a Lava Coil, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's a lot of cards, the Bone Crusher Giants that Sebastian has in his sideboard. There are bad news cards here. But if you're Sebastian, you're just thinking to yourself, look, if I lose this game, I'm out of the tournament. I need to win this game for a lot of different reasons, but I need to win it quickly and get this game over with. Grow my Steamkin. We might see all the creatures attack this turn.
Here we go. Attack times. I love this. Swinging in with absolutely everything. Only 2 blockers available here. For Seth Manfield and Castle Embereth. So this is just lethal.
Yeah, he can do that with the Steamkin. He removes the mana from the Steamkin, activates the Castle Embereth. These creatures are absolutely enormous. Seth has 2 blockers. The biggest creatures in the battlefield are Annex, and let's call it one of those 3 power creatures. So that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There should be 15 coming through by my math.
Ouch.
Scorch Spitter can, the Devil can kill the runaway Steamkin, but that should still be enough.
That's still lethal? Yeah, that is still lethal. There we go. So Sebastian Pozzo fighting back. He wants to get through to day number 3 of competition, and we are all square. Seth Manfield, Sebastian Pozzo, 1 match apiece. So we're going to go to match number 3 in this mono-red mirror.
I like the way that Sebastian played those last 2 games in a very, very big way. It looks like he's settled in now. I didn't love the way he played the first match, but he played that second match beautifully, tied things up, and now we get 1 match for it all. Winner goes on to day number 3 is in the top 4. I know last time, Ailey, they said, hey, we don't really need a break, and they decided to take one. Not really sure what they want to do. I think the situation's a little bit different now. Sebastian probably said, you know what, I want to jump back in there. I don't like the way I played those games. I can beat this guy. Now it's a little different. Now it's whoever wins is moving on. I think the situation changes a bit.
All to play for here, but before we jump into the 3rd matchup between those 2 players, we're going to take a look at Gabriel Nassif and Eli Loveman as their match is in progress. So Fires of Invention versus Mono Red. Let's jump into it.
Again, these Mono Red decks, so powerful coming into the weekend, but players have different builds. You're seeing Eli Loveman with Infuriate and 10th Street Dodger in his deck, Unchained Berserker after sideboard. Mono Red was a deck that these players knew was going to be in the room here this weekend. They just didn't know how much. A quarter of the field, we have 4 players playing it, and we're actually getting the opportunity to watch 3 of them right now.
Mono Red seems to be the deck to beat in this tournament right now.
I mean, there's a lot of good decks in this tournament, but in this particular stage of it, we are Mono Red centric.
Which we're fine with.
And I would say that Nassif is fine with this too. Nassif is not particularly scared of this matchup. He's already up 1 match to 0. We're in game number 3 here of our lower round 2. So for Loveman, much like we saw with Pozzo in the last game and last match, his back is against the wall. He can't lose another game.
Right, see a mulligan there from Eli Loveman. He's going to send that hand back and keep what looks like a much better hand indeed. He's going to curve out quite nicely here if he can find a 3-drop. Get things going, Fervent Champion on the battlefield. Take a look at Nassif's hand as the Fervent Champ gets in for a point of damage.
Nassif's hand is an absolute beauty. He's got the mana to cast Deafening Clarion. He's got Teferi to interact with a threat, and he's got Kenrith, which Eli said in one of his interviews to Becca, it's a card I can never beat. Once it's on the battlefield, a 5-mana 5/5 that's going to be gaining life is a card I can just really never, ever beat.
Yeah, Kenrith is it's quite tricky to deal with, especially for the deck that doesn't really want anything to gain life. Temple of Triumph is the draw there for Yellow Hat. I love that he brought the Yellow Hat back, I'm just saying.
Oh, he'll always bring
his power is in the hat.
I've known Gab for over a decade. He had the Yellow Hat then. He's still got it now. He's going to do a little scrying. He'll think it up because that's what Nassif does. Going to keep a Sacred Foundry on top of the deck because he's just looking to get 1 step closer to resolving Kenrith. And the tough spot here for Loveman is that he has to play to the battlefield. And by doing that, that means you're going to get your creatures killed.
Oh yes, as we're about to see right now, Deafening Clarion deals with the 2 critters on the battlefield, so now we've got to rebuild. Robert the Rich can get in there and steal a few things from Gab Nassif. Let's see what he finds. It's just a land, unfortunately, so no goodies off the top of the library. Temple of Triumph off the top for Gab Nassif, as well as good old Teferi.
Nassif sitting in a very healthy 16, going to deploy a Teferi, as you did mention. Curious to see how he wants to use it. Could very easily just bounce this creature because he wants to get one step closer to playing lands for Kenrith, plural, since he has 3 of them in his hand.
Doesn't he only have 3 in the deck?
Yeah, and the thing about Kenrith too is that it's so good in the matchup. Loveman is starting to flood out a little bit here, so he can kill Teferi, obviously, and trigger his Robber the Rich and get himself a Bone Crusher Giant, which isn't so bad. But if you're Nassif, you play your Kenrith next turn, you say, I dare you to beat it. I dare you. I don't think you can. And if you beat that one, you got to beat another one.
I double dog dare you.
Yep.
There's no way that Loveman... Well, I mean, there is a way. He can use Lava Coil in conjunction with the Robber the Rich attack, but you don't want to really use 2 cards to get rid of one, especially since there's 3 of them.
Well, with Kenrith, you do want to use 2 cards. You want to do whatever it takes to get it off the battlefield. Now, I'm curious to see if Nassif blocks here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does, because he can just go, you need a spell to kill this, and then I have another one, and then I have another one.
Yep. So Robert the Rich doing his best here. He's going to attack into Kenrith the Return King. Eli will take care of 1 Kenrith, but much to his dismay, as we will see very shortly, there are 2 others in Gabriel Nassif's hand, as well as Elspeth Conquers Death.
Yeah, and I love Nassif putting him to the test here. And now Nassif doesn't have to go to Kenrith this turn. He can go to Elspeth Conquers Death, kill your Bone Crusher Giant, get that thing out of here.
Bye-bye. And yeah, just cause a little bit of havoc on the battlefield, getting back any creature or planeswalker that's in the graveyard. Scorch Spitter is the go-to here. I believe in you, Scorch Spitter.
Well,
it can do things.
It's, well. Loveman's going to give +1. He's going to give +1/+, so I think Eli knows that things are about to go really poorly for him. Fire's Invention was a draw here for Nassif. That's the 1-2 punch of this deck to play that. We might see Kenrith now.
Kenrith Haste Smack? If not, why not?
I mean, Nassif is so far ahead. So Nassif, in classic Nassif fashion, is going to go into the tank here.
Oh, yeah.
And I got no problem with it, and I never do. Because the one thing Nassif is going to do is he's going to think to himself, how the heck do I lose this game?
Yeah.
I cannot let that happen. There's no reason to do anything ridiculous. Loveman's going to play a land. He drew a Lava Coil. That's completely useless.
Oh, no. I love this. I love this. I'm just going to tap my things. Look, I'm using my mana. It's totally fine. Sphinx of Foresight off the top of the library. And here comes good old Teferi back on the battlefield for Nassif, who looks to be in very commanding fashion and is likely to run away with this game.
I've known, like I mentioned earlier, I've known Nassif for so long. Top 8 at a Pro Tour alongside him at Pro Tour Kyoto, which he did win, beating the fabled and awesome Luis Scott Vargas in the finals. Nassif took a little bit of a step back from the game in the last decade, but he made his way back via streaming. And, you know, he likes to be, you know, I'm not that great anymore. I'm okay. You know, I don't play as much as I used to. I'm not at the peak of my powers anymore. My friend, I would disagree. Nassif, with the hat on top of your head, I would say you still got it, my friend.
Still got it.
You still have got it.
Now, the nice thing here is Unchained Berserker can fend off Kenny.
Can it?
It
can.
I mean, protection from white.
Trample.
Trample, right? Trample's a thing that exists.
It's going to be tough for that Berserker.
Oh.
It's going to be tough.
Oh, come on. Berserker, you got this. I believe in you. I mean, it could kill the Bone Crusher Giant. He's not dead. He's not dead. I mean, he's probably going to be very dead soon. But yeah, things are not looking good here.
No, things are looking quite bad.
And also, he can give lifelink to his Kenrith if he wants to, with a Deafening Clarion. It doesn't kill the Unchained Berserker.
No, Berserker's pro white, so Deafening Clarion's not going to kill it. But what Nassif can do is just give his creatures haste and trample and just give the beatdowns, and that's exactly what we're going to see here.
Oh man, this is such a unfortunate block to have to make. You're like, I would like to block the thing that doesn't kill me, but I'd also like to get another creature off the battlefield, because if I don't, I'm dead next turn, and that sucks. Oh no, wait, it's only when he's attacking he gets the +3.
Yeah, I mean, the trample damage is going to come across here. Ultimately, as you're going to see Nassif plus and pass, and Embercleave's a cute draw step.
Oh.
What we'll see here is, I think, unfortunately for Eli Loveman, who has won a Mythic Championship, and that's how he got here. His tournament is going to come to an end. And, you know, I got to give him some credit as he says good game. He had a heck of a run this week.
Yeah, he did.
He really, really had a heck of a run this week, and he showed that Mythic Championship win was no fluke. Losing to Gabriel Nassif is nothing to be sad about either.
I also believe he was the last standing of the Mythic Championships. Mythic Champions from last year. So congratulations to our players. Gabriel Nassif is going to advance. Unfortunately, that is the end of the road for Eli Loveman. But yeah, a pretty decisive victory there for Gab Nassif. So Mono Red not to be too much of a hassle there for Jeskai Fire.
Jeskai Fires loves to play that matchup. That's part of the reason that Carvalho and Nassif, they brought that deck here this week, and they were hoping to play against Mono Red. I'm not sure how they feel about their Azorius control matchup. Obviously, Paulo Vitor Damaderosa is through into day number 3 of competition, and we've got one more Mono Red mirror coming through as well. So we know that at least one red deck's going to be through the top 4. So if you're Marcio, if you're Nassif, you're thrilled with that, but we got to see who that player is going to be.
We do indeed, and that match is between Sebastian Pozzo and Seth Manfield. We're going to get into that action right after this commercial break, so don't go anywhere.
It's nice to see that, by the way. Little face-to-face interaction here, right? Sometimes when you play games a lot, you can feel a little disconnected from your opponent, but it's one of the great benefits to our game is these two gentlemen will remember this moment for the rest of their lives. Matt did find land source number 2, Blinkmoth Nexus, and now he has the Steel Overseer. But this is going to be a huge blowout here.
This is so rough.
Eli Loveman runs out the Izzet Staticaster, takes down the Overseer, and strands the other 2 in hand for Matt Sperling. He finds another land off the top of the battle library, but no, it does not make red mana. So he has to settle for playing Arcbound Ravager and passing the turn. Now, what's the interaction here with Arcbound Ravager and the Izzet Staticaster? Can Eli just force him to sacrifice something? Is that what it comes down to?
Yeah, so what Eli can do is use the Izzet Staticaster and target the Arcbound Ravager, and Matt Sperling probably wants to preserve that Arcbound Ravager, so he will likely have to sack a creature to keep it in play. Now, Eli Loveman, after that, has Reflector Mage in hand. He could choose to play Reflector Mage to then remove the Arcbound Ravager. But it looks like he wants to get aggressive here because with 2 Noble Hierarchs in play, this Mantis Rider getting in for 5.
Looks more like a dragon.
Matt Sperling trying to make a 3/5 Ornithopter here.
He's going to eat up one of the Mantis Riders, but Eli says sure.
So it's taken 3 damage, though. Now, Reflector Mage.
Packing right back to your hand. Reflector Mage off of 3 Noble Hierarchs post-combat means that Ornithopter is going to be back in his hand, and Matt can't even play it next turn.
Yeah, this is just the game at this point. There is just way too much pressure on Eli Loveman's side of the battlefield. Matt Sperling will sacrifice the Ornithopter, but this game is over.
Sperling finds cranial plating, but he's just down to 3 permanents left on the battlefield. Eli Loveman with the Izzet Staticaster and the double Mantis Rider draw has put too much pressure on Sperling. He's dwindled his resources. He's super far ahead, and he even has that extra copy of Phantasmal Image at the ready. So first things first, hit you for 6 damage.
That's a lot of
3
exalted triggers.
Again, Matt has options here as far as blocking goes. He doesn't actually need to. He's going to fall down to 4 life.
So Champion of the Parish here, and then I can see a Phantasmal Image here being played, maybe copying Reflector Mage targeting the Arcbound Ravager, but
that would do it. There it is, Galvanic Blast off the top of the library. It is completely uncastable as it has been this entire game, and we are on the verge of our champion. There's another Reflector Mage off the top of the library as well to send the last creature packing on the battlefield. There it is, Reflector Mage on the stack. Sperling's going to think about it and scoop up his permanents. We have our champion. Eli Loveman of the United States is your Mythic Championship winner here from London. Congratulations, Eli.
Welcome back to World Championship 26 here in Honolulu, powered by Alienware. I'm Ailey Loney, this is Cedric Phillips, and we have a deciding matchup here for you. It is Sebastian Pozzo versus Seth Manfield. So let's jump straight into the action. Ooh, taking a look here, both players underway. Torbrand, Athena of Red fell up against Annex and a runaway Steamkin.
We're walking into a pretty crazy battlefield here. Torbrand for Seth, and Seth has got all of the relevant cards in hand. You see from Pozzo's side, he doesn't have anything going on in his hand. Rimrock Knight, which can't even block, and it couldn't make a good attack there either against Torbrand, 3-1 into a 2-4 after all. But now Seth's got to get busy. Seth is behind, and it's time to play catch-up.
Oh, yes. First things first, let's get Torbrand in. get Spectacle up and get Runaway Steam Kid down on the battlefield and growing, possibly over 2 light up the stage triggers.
Yeah, smart play there by Seth playing the Steamkin first, now playing the light up the stage trigger, Scorch Spitter, and another copy of Torbran.
Oh, cool. So we can get Runaway Steamkin up to 3 counters.
Oh, yeah, that part's going to be pretty easy, actually. So now stage number 2, another counter on the Steamkin. Let's take a look at the reveals.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. Things are looking good here.
I like that play from Seth again because that means that he gets to play a land from exile instead of from his hand. You can make an argument to play it from your hand instead of from exile because of Robber of the Rich, in case that little trigger-esque thing works itself into the equation. But he's going to go with the land from exile. And now, which one drop does he want to play? Does he want to play Scorch Spitter, or does he want to play Fervent Champion? Does he want to play anything in addition to that? Because Steamkin will then have 3 counters to generate 3 red mana.
I think perhaps we'll see Scorch Spitter down if we do want to get a little busy next turn. Swinging in, at least Scorch Spitter then will be, not have Summoning Sickness, but looks like we're going to go towards Fervent Champion.
And the reason to go towards Fervent Champion in this spot is because it does have First Strike, and it is a 3-power, in quotes, First Striker in combination with Torbran. So that means it's a better defensive creature on this battlefield.
So now you can just see Seth deliberating if he wants to empty out the Steamkin and get Scorch Spitter down. He can play both from exile next turn. Just depends if he wants to have another creature on the battlefield to block.
And also worth noting, too, is that if you dump this, you dump into the Steamkin, you're going to get another counter from playing the Scorch Spitter. So it's going to be a 2-2. Scorch Spitter is going to be a 1-1, but in reality, because Torbran's on the battlefield, that means that Steamkin's a 4-power blocker, Scorch Spitter's a 3-power blocker, and Fervent Champion is a 3-power first striking blocker on defense. And Pozzo's draw step is a mountain, and that is not a good one, Ailey.
Not a good one at all there. Also, with Torbran on the battlefield having a Scorch Spitter down, that's 3 points of damage to the dome straight away. So yeah, things are, I mean, they have the same hand, both full of mountains, not what the players want to see.
Yeah, but Seth with a better battlefield right now.
Oh, yeah.
Also has the ability to play Torbran either pre or post combat. Looks like Annex was thinking about getting a little frisky. I'm not so sure about that anymore.
Hold the line, sir. Wait for your turn to attack, please. Rimrock Knight can't block, but attacking here is just not a good idea considering Fervent Champion, First Strike, etc., etc. So rather keep Annex sitting at 4 power with the extra devotion from the Rimrock Knight. Runaway Steamkin is going to swing in here for 4, and we're going to see how the blocks are tendered. It looks like no blocks may be the option here.
Yeah, Seth is actually going to take the 4 and fall down to 5. Remember, Sebastian's not playing any burn spells, so he's able to just say, you know what, I'm not going to block, and your damage comes through. Now Seth's got to do a little math. Cast on Birth was the draw. He has the ability to activate it. So, Sebastian has 1 blocker in Annex.
Yeah.
Biggest creature on the battlefield, let's call it Runaway Steamkin for now because it has the highest damage output. So is there a kill available? We say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2, 3, 4 for the creatures. Cast on Birth is going to make them all 1 bigger. So let's call it 3, 4, 5. Then we give them each additional 2. So that's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think that's exactly 16 by my math. So Torbran will deal 2 plus 1 from the castle, that's 3, plus 2 from Torbran is 5. Fervent Champion will deal you 1, plus 1 from the castle is 2, plus 2 from Torbran is 4, so that's 9. Scorch Spitter's trigger, deal you 3, that's 12. 1 from Scorch Spitter is 13, 1 from the castle is 14, 2 from Torbran should be 16. The biggest creature, again, as far as damage output is concerned, is one of the 2-power creatures, be it Steamkin or Torbran. So I hope my combat math is still good, but I'm counting 16.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Cedric. Cedric Phillips with the quick math. Exactsies. You're pretty good at this game, huh?
At this. Don't give me an Azorius control deck. I have no idea what I'm doing. Do not do that.
Wow. Spectacular win there from Seth Manfield. It looked like he was very much on the back foot, but he worked his way through it. Math is for blockers, and Cedric Phillips, as it turns out.
I love myself some good combat math.
Oh, yeah.
Just give me some creatures.
Oh, yeah.
All day long.
I was thinking of throwing in some funny comments there, like, 2, 5, 10, just to throw you off. But you got it. You got it. Let's go into sideboard times. Again, we're going to see similar game plans here for both players. Let's try and get this win here. Both of these players are fighting for their spot in the top 4. The loser is eliminated.
Well,
so everything's to play for.
We've watched Seth's sideboard a couple times. I'm curious if it's going to change. And I mentioned this when we were watching earlier stages of this match, because when you get deep into a match, now you might want to try to trick your opponent a little bit. They may think you're going to sideboard a certain way, but once you kind of get in the nitty-gritty of we are going back and forth and back and forth, how can I get a small edge? Well, maybe I'm going to sideboard a little bit different here.
All right.
Now, I don't think Seth can keep this one.
Yeah, this hand looks a little bit yikes, and so does this one. Ugh. Cedric, do you keep this?
And this is not the first time. I mean, you're not thrilled to keep this one, but I think you probably do and put a mountain to the bottom.
Yeah. Red cap melee can take care of something that hits the battlefield that's a threat and light up the stage. If you need to cast it for 3, at least you have the 3 lands to do it. So, you know, a little bit of an out there, but woof, this hand is not much prettier than the first.
I don't think he wants to go to 5. Now, you could certainly make the argument of he's got a game to give because he's +1, but I don't think the players are going to think about things this way. You want to get it done now if you can, and I just think this is the kind of hand that Seth has to keep. He's not thrilled with it, but I think you got to keep it. You put a mountain away, and you hope your draw steps are good.
Yeah, hope light up the stage hits you some gas on the top of your library.
Yeah.
Fervent Champion is going to kick things off. Sebastian Pozzo's opening hand looking pretty good indeed. Look at that curve.
It's a good start there for Seth as far as a draw step is concerned, but Sebastian's hand is pretty good. Sebastian would obviously love another land.
Oh, yeah.
Get to Annex, get closer to Torbran. Yeah, now
Red cap
this is always interesting to me if you want to actually kill this creature, because
Spectacle's a thing.
Yeah, because it's spectacle. Now it's not the most powerful creature
Yeah, no,
in
not
Fervent
at all.
Champion, but you want to slow down light up the stage.
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
big draw from Seth.
He's got another red cap melee, so, you know, it's all right. Torbran, it's a critter. It's a thing that can be on the battlefield and block stuff, so that is very good for Seth indeed. He's going to have to do that because there's things coming in Runaway Steamkin, Annex, and Torbran, but he needs to find another land, and he's not doing that. So let's get Runaway Steamkin number 2 down. Seth will see that there is a land missed.
Now, a little thing that's interesting here. Now, I do think you cast light up the stage.
Yeah.
And he's going to cast light up the stage. And those are good. Those are good reveals. Those are good reveals there for Seth and Annex and light up the stage. The reason I think it's a little bit interesting is because depending on what he finds, you might just want to deploy Torbran next turn, and then the 2 cards that you exile from stage are not particularly good. But Annex is a great find. Stage is 2. So, fair enough. Good play there from Seth. We see what his next turn looks like, as unfortunately here for Sebastian Pozzo. No 3rd land.
Yeah, no 3rd land, so he's going to have to rely a lot on this Runaway Steamkin and finding a 2-mana spell to follow that up and just be able to cast something else in his hand. Things aren't looking too good here for him right now. There's another Annex, so you're not too sad to lose the one to exile. He may go for it anyway.
No, you just play the one from exile. You don't worry about the one that you drew. You just play that. You play your land for the turn. You're going to lose your light up the stage.
That's all right.
And
He's got enough good stuff in his hand right now, I think. Hey, there we go. 3rd land for Sebastian Pozzo, so he gets back into this matchup, hopefully for him. And likely we're going to see a good old Annex Hardened in the Forge on his side of the battlefield.
Yeah, the question now, though, is it too late? That's the question you have to ask yourself right now if you're Pozzo. Now, one note is that he has Runaway Steamkin going.
Yep.
And that's very, very important for how this game is playing out. And Runaway Steamkin is one of these cards that if it does get to live and do its thing, as we have seen in this mirror match a little bit earlier, it is a crucial avenue to victory.
Yeah.
And it is still alive, at least for the moment.
So now we've got Annex Hardened in the Forge along with Torbran, Thane of Redfell possibly. Light up the stage is an option too if he wants to fire that off, but I think, you know, putting some more blockers in the way just because the threat of Embercleave is always looming in this mono-red matchup. So yeah, let's get Torbran down. Let's make our blocks a little bit better with the +2 from Torbran, and let's see what Pozzo can throw at this table.
Well, now Pozzo's got a lot to think about. He can play Fervent Champion pre-combat. If he does that, that means that Runaway Steamkin is up to 3 counters, which gives you 3 mana, which means you can also play Torbran, which is going to grow your devotion on Annex. It's going to give you a counter back from Runaway Steamkin, and then you've got the Infuriate left in the holster. So this is actually a really, really, really good turn.
Oh yeah. Sebastian Pozzo fighting his way, trying to get this final victory here against Seth Manfield, who wants to do the exact same thing, and he's going to send everything into the red zone.
Yeah, this turn.
Block this.
Awesome. It is awesome for Pozzo.
Oh, man.
All of the mana came out perfectly. Got to play the Fervent Champion. That creature has haste. Great in combination with Torbran. Got to play the Torbran. Now he's got the combat trick ready as well. The combat trick can grow any of the creatures. It gives you more damage in combination with Torbran. It's great with first strikers. And it gives your Runaway Steamkin a counter.
It does. So you've got to know that Seth is thinking about that one card. That's the difference in his list as opposed to Sebastian Pozzo's. So yeah, he's probably not going to want to block any of these first strikers because he knows that then Torbran is going to be super duper dead.
Well, Torbran's going to get in front of the Fervent Champion. I think the hope here is that, I think if you're Seth, you might be thinking to yourself, I can't beat Infuriate. I just have to hope that you don't have Infuriate.
And unfortunately for Seth, Sebastian has just that. Now, which creature gets it? Looks like it's going on to Fervent Champion. Let's get rid of Torbran. Get that off the battlefield. Get in for a good chunk of damage. Create 2 sated tokens on this side of Seth. He's down to 6. So Sebastian is looking really good right now. He's got no blockers left on the battlefield. Anax can join the fray, but is this too little too late here for Seth? Because that is a lot of damage coming through next turn.
Yeah, the problem here for Seth ultimately is he doesn't have a good, clean way to get Torbran off the battlefield. He's going to scoop it up and say, you know what?
Let's go on to game number 3.
One game, 4 it all. I'm on the play.
Goodness
Let's do
me.
it.
Here I was thinking this matchup was going to go a lot quicker
No.
than Steve Burchett, but
These games,
we've seen back and forth between every single matchup.
These games are hard, and if you get a decision wrong, you may lose the game on the spot. If you do your combat math wrong, if you don't play around Embercleave correctly, if you don't play around Infuriate correctly, all that stuff, you could lose the game immediately. And that's why you're seeing these players really take their time. Now, of course, winner of this game wins this match, and that means they are headed to play on Sunday alongside Nassif, Damaderosa, and Carvalho. This is for it all, and you know both these players, they want it badly.
Oh, yes. So who will be the best of 3 winner? Who's going to be our final top 4 competitor? It's all coming down to this. Sebastian Pozzo, Seth Manfield. Good luck, have fun, and may RN Jesus bless your deck. Take a look at the opening hands. It's 2 Robbers of the Rich and Light of the Stage. A decent looking opening hand there for Seth. Let's see what Sebastian's got on his side.
I call that hand good enough.
Ooh, that's not too great.
Yeah, this
one. Want to keep that though, being on the draw.
If that Embercleave was anything else, I think you can make an argument for it. This is much better.
Oh yeah, this looks good.
Curious if he's going to send Mountain or Cleave to the bottom. I think I lean towards Cleave because he's on the draw, but Embercleave is the kind of card that can catch him back up and maybe steal a game. But it looks like this. I mean, he thought about Embercleave. That's a tough call. That's a really tough call.
Keeping the 2 mountains, sending one to the back, Scorching Dragonfire off the top. Fervent Champion is going to get things underway, swinging in for 1 point of damage. And here we're going to see Robber of the Rich from Seth Manfield. Again, all these hasty little knuckleheads, as you like to call them, Cedric, getting in for points of damage. Runaway Steamkin off the top of the library. It's not a 3rd land, but you don't hate to see it. And Seth doesn't have any way to deal with that at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting draw. Seth doesn't have a way to kill it right now, but Pozzo doesn't know that. And Pozzo does know that Seth has Red Cat Melees, Bone Crusher Giants, and Lava Coils after sideboard.
Light up the stage is going to be the play, and finding 2 Robber of Riches. Ooh. You need land, sir.
Yeah, that's not what he wanted to find at all.
Needs to find a land. Annex, Harden in the Forge, off the top of the library for Seth Manfield. So he's got a pretty good looking next few plays here.
It's kind of interesting how Seth wants to. So a lot of different lines here for Seth. Oddly enough, he could play Robber of the Rich, pre-combat attack with both of them, and then play him out and play Light Up the Stage. He could just play him out and play Annex this turn. He could just start with this and see how the turn goes.
Yeah.
So he's going to start here. Red Cat Melee is going to take care of that, and I think we might see Mountain and just use all of your mana this turn.
Yep, Mountain's the easy part. What's next? Annex, Harden in the Forge. On the battlefield, going to be a decent blocker there against Fervent Champion.
He drew that 3rd land. What's a little bit curious here is that things don't line up the way that Pozzo would like them to. And the reason I say that is because if he scores any spell he plays, he gets to do that one thing for the turn, right? He doesn't get to double spell this turn because all of his things cost 2 mana, and then, of course, Embercleave costs a ton of mana. So he's going to lose the Robber of the Rich that is over there from Light Up the Stage, which, okay, fine. But the Scorching Dragonfire is actually a good draw the previous turn because that can take care of the Annex later on down the road.
It can indeed, and Lava Coil is also a pretty good draw here for Seth Manfield. So he's got interaction. He can get rid of the Robber of the Rich that's on the battlefield, protect his library from any thieves.
Dude, come on, I got to see an attack.
Yeah. Go, Robber, go. Always imagine red creatures do that when they attack. It's not exactly frightening, but...
We might see Coil now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. Because then at least Robert will trigger. Can get through for damage. Looks like he's going to hold it for now. He's got bigger fish to fry.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
God,
okay.
you don't get much out of Seth as far as body language is concerned. I think he's not happy with this decision. Because if he had coiled the Robber of the Rich, then his Robber of the Rich would have triggered.
Yep.
Now Robber of the Riches can trade. And he's weird. Boy, he's also kind of weirdly played himself into Infuriate a little bit.
Yeah, perhaps lava coiling, getting rid of one of these creatures would have been a bit more beneficial.
There was a little bit of a frustrated gesture there from Seth with him thinking about what he wanted to do here.
Well, let's see how Sebastian blocks these two creatures. You can trade the Rubber of the Rich, as you mentioned. He's also probably thinking about getting rid of Annex off this battlefield to prevent any more satyrs being generated. But no, he's going to let the damage through.
Now
So lava stage, light up the stage is now online for Seth. Is he looking for something else, perhaps?
Okay, looks like he's going to go towards light up the stage. Boy, these turns are tough.
Oh, red cap melee though.
Nice.
That's very
That
nice.
is nice.
All right, so it all worked out here for Seth Manfield. He's got red cap melee. Whatever comes down, he can kill. If it's the Robber of the Rich, if it's a Steamkin, if it's Annex, he's got an answer for it.
It looks like he's going to do it right now, kill Robber the Rich right now, which means the only thing on the battlefield heading into Pozzo's turn is a Fervent Champion.
Yeah, good turn there for Seth.
All right, land 4 is actually pretty nice here because this means that Pozzo can double spell. It's Steamkin plus Scorching Dragonfire in the same turn.
Yeah, very nice. That also exiles good old Annex, so no critters being generated out of him in exile. So now he's just got to deal with this Robber of the Rich. It's very back and forth at the moment. Like you mentioned at the start of this matchup, like it's very swingy in this mirror.
What's also interesting here is as these players continue to empty their hands a little bit, looks like Fervent Champion's going to come in. There may be interest in Scorching Dragon firing the Robber of the Rich and not the Annex. He might feel as though he can hold off the Annex. Not saying that's true or not, and we'll see where the Scorching Dragon fire is going to go. There's certainly some reason to cast it right away, but it looks like he's going to hold it, at least for right now.
Fervent Champion off the top. We've got Runaway Steamkin available to Seth Manfield and a Lava Coil that can deal with the opposing Runaway Steamkin on the other side of the battlefield if he wants to, or the Fervent Champion.
Decision trees here for Seth. Lava Coil, if I want to play it, where do I target? Do I start with Runaway Steamkin? I think that's the most obvious play. You don't want to lose it to light up the stage. Also, you just want to get this on the battlefield before you're going to play more red spells. So that play is sort of straightforward, but I think it's worth thinking about. And then you have to think about what you're going to do with Fervent Champion here. If you're going to play that this turn or not. You also...
Fervent Champion doesn't really help at the moment. I mean...
So it adds a devotion.
Yeah.
It also gives a +1/+1 counter over to Steamkin as well. And you may just think to yourself, there's nothing I want to Lava Coil.
Yeah. I like this. Let's get rid of the blocker. Scorching Dragonfire is obviously still a factor. So one of these creatures is going to die. Which one it is, we'll have to wait and see. But most likely it's going to be Annex, Hardened in the Forge. So Robber of the Rich will get through for damage.
This is a really tough decision.
Yeah. We'll get through for damage, but unfortunately no trigger because of the hand size. So 2 points of damage is 2 points of damage. He's going to take it.
A land means you can play Ember Cleave. This is the concern with the Lava Coil.
Oy.
This is the concern with the Lava Coil.
Oh, I bet Seth is going to wish he held on to that.
This is the concern with the Lava Coil.
So Fervent Champion is now dealing 3 points of first strike damage. Runaway Steamkin cannot block it without dying. So this is a bit of a yikes here for Seth Manfield.
Pozzo's going to think before attacking. He is going to send in the 3 damage. Remember, 1+2 because of Torbrand.
Another Runaway Steamkin, another Fervent Champion. Is he just going to go for the Embercleave here? I think so. Let's do it. Let's go.
All right.
Embercleave, quick maths. Cedric, go.
Well, it depends on the block. You're putting me on the spot. Obviously, you can play Embercleave. Sebastian knows this as well. Sebastian is playing the exact same deck as him. So now here's your block. Embercleave goes there. Torbrand can't. That means that Robber the Rich would be a 3/3 with double strike, which means that Torbrand would trade with it in combat, but that also means
It's
that Embercleave
lethal.
is just on the battlefield.
Embercleave on
So
Runaway Steamkin is lethal.
if we put it on Steamkin, you're going to make it into a 5-power creature, one from
Yeah,
the trigger, one
yeah.
from there. So that's 10 plus 1 is 11.
Easy peasy, I beat you to it.
That is 11. Seth is giving the thumbs up. He's giving the thumbs up. If
He
that-
knows the wings the camera do. You don't see much emotion from this man, but he just gave us the thumbs up.
Just saying, yeah, block there. That's a great block. Please block there.
Oh my goodness. So he has to, no, wait, even, does blocking the Runaway Steamkin help? It doesn't. Or does it?
5/5. So it's 10 minus 4, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
He would
He'd
live.
be alive.
He would live.
He has to block the
If he blocks the
Steamkin.
Steamkin, he would live. Look
He
at
has to block
look
the
at Seth
Steamkin.
rocking and rolling to this chair. Look at him rocking and roll. Well,
Oh, man.
in a way, he has to block the Steamkin, but also he might not be able to beat Embercleave regardless. There is the
there
block.
we go. Here it comes,
the
baby.
Embercleave.
Believe in the cleave. Seth Manfield cleaving his way to victory. He's moving on.
Bang.
What a victory for the world champion, former world champion. Seth Manfield, congratulations. Sebastian Pozzo fought for his life, did an excellent job at hanging on, but unfortunately is eliminated. What a match.
What a huge
Oh,
draw. What an awesome set of matches. Those players
that
went
was great.
back and forth and back and forth and back and forth in the red